Hey guys, what's going on? It's Blade again from Car Security, and today we've got a brand new Blaupunkt head unit to show you today. This is the SQM23 DAB, also known as the Hamburg. So this has Bluetooth streaming and hands-free calls, DAB radio and FM radio, USB connectivity, 3 pre-outs on the back for your amplifiers, and many other features. So this is their third version, as I've mentioned. They have one starting from early 2000s to 90s. They've got one from early 90s to 80s, and this is the early 80s to 70s version. So this could be perfect for something like a classic Mini, Mark 1, Mark 2 Golf, Triumph Stag, something around that age point that would work very well. Obviously, it doesn't have to be put into that age of vehicle. You can put it into anything. It's a singled-in head unit at the end of the day, so as long as it fits, it works. But if it works for you in terms of the looks, then it's good. So as always, let's open up the box to show you the contents, and then we'll power the unit up and show you how it all works. Let's get into it. Okay, so we've got the box contents laid out in front of me. Let's quickly go through it. First of all, as I say, always the most important part, but the most boring part. This is the instructions. Now, there is quite a lot this head unit can do, and because a lot of the buttons are kind of multi-use, it'll be good to read through this if you do get stuck. So just don't throw this away as soon as you open the packaging. Keep it there just in case. Next, you have a set of removal keys. These are designed to take this particular cage off of this stereo. They're nice long removal keys, and it makes taking it out even easier. All you have to do is pop these little tabs off the side like that, pop the key in, and then it will disconnect the latch from the side and allow you to take the stereo out. Next, we have the Bluetooth microphone. Now, because this has hands-free, you have a separate microphone. Now, this does actually have an internal microphone built in, but we always recommend you fit this because the hands-free calls, in terms of the other person hearing you on the other line, is a lot better when you have a separate mic rather than one built into the head unit. And lastly, for the accessories, you've got bare end ISOs. Now, all of the Blaupunkt head units come with this, and to be honest, it's very handy to have it. These kind of age of vehicles usually are cut and shut, unfortunately, meaning that the original loom has been cut off and something else has been manually wired in. It's usually in an absolute mess. So the fact that you don't have to buy separate wiring for it is just very handy. It all comes pre-labeled with how you need to connect it. So it's very easy. You've got your power side and you've got your speaker side ready to go. Now, because this head unit has ISO connections directly on the back of it, half the time you'll find that those connections are already behind your original head unit or anything that's aftermarket that's in there. So sometimes it's the case of you pull your old head unit out, unplug it, plug this one in, run a microphone, DAB antenna, and you're done. It's very easy. Obviously, like I said, if sometimes they've been manually wired in and the plug's not going to work, you do get those ISO extensions. So you can rewire it in and plug it in. Another good point with this is it's actually a shallow singled in. So again, with these older vehicles, you don't always have a lot of space behind. It's shallower than a standard full depth one that would have like a CD player, for instance. It just makes installation a lot easier. Now, in terms of the physical features on the head unit itself, as you can see, it's a very nice display on the front. You've got your physical volume knob over to the left side here, and you've also got a left to right fader function on the side as well. So in terms of the physical functions and display of the head unit, as you can see, it's a very nicely laid out setup with very old school style kind of square buttons, nice big volume knob that you can use, and you've got the display at the top. And you may think this is a tape player up here, which is what it's designed to look like, but under here you do have a USB port. But we'll get into all of those functions in a moment. Now on the back, we'll quickly go through what we've got here. So here, first of all, you have your FM antenna connection. The gold one above it is your DAB antenna connection. These 3 like Flywire kind of connections here. You've got a rear USB, you've got your steering wheel control interface, and you've got your microphone connection. Underneath that, you have your 3 RCA pre-outs. So you've got one for front, one for rear, and one for sub. So that's pairs of each. Now, the only other unit that doesn't have a pair of each, it has a single subwoofer output, is the Blaupunkt Bremen, which is the first version. So very simple on the back, very self-explanatory. And like I said earlier, you've got the cage on the side, which you use the keys to take off if you need to remove it. So let's get this powered on I'll show you the main functions of the unit, and then we'll go through kind of settings and setup if you change colors and stuff like that, and we'll have a look. Okay guys, so we've got the head unit all turned on, ready to go, so let's go through the main functions. So as you can see, it's all lit up, looks really, really nice. Now this display here is completely RGB, so you can change this to whatever color you like. But you've got, over here, you've got your main volume knob, obviously pretty self-explanatory. Now behind that, you have a balance function, so you can bias it more to the right, as you can see, balance, or more to the left if you like. But most of the time it's going to be left in the middle. Now you have your source button here, that's going to allow you to change through the sources. So let's say we want to go to DAB 1, allow that to turn on, and then it will go to your DAB stations. Now obviously as long as you've got a DAB antenna connected, you should be getting signal. And then what you can do is you can search through by clicking this button here, that'll go through them, and then you can press and hold these station lists up to number 5, that will preset those stations. You can also quickly change between DAB, FM by clicking on here. So you can go to DAB or to FM, or you can click source until you find the correct one. Now, you've also got TA, which is traffic announcements. You can turn that on or off. So on or off, as you can see. And then here is your basically skip tracks button, essentially. So if you're in FM, I'll show you. You can then scroll through and it will auto scan, or if you press and hold it, it'll go to manual and you can manually scan through. Again, you can preset your stations, up to 5 stations preset along the side here. Also, you've got your menu button. So if you tap menu, you can then scroll through and change what settings you want to change. So let's say I want to change some audio settings. Let's go to audio. We'll click down on here. So you can change the bass output, treble output, balance, and fader. The sound, you can change basically the EQ setup. So you can change from pop to rock to classic. Different EQ setups to give you a slightly different sound. And loudness, again, you can turn that on to give you a little bit of a boost on output. Subwoofer output, you can then change on here, so the output on the subwoofer, if you want to give it a bit more or a bit less, you can turn it up and down through that. And then the frequency cutoff, so that's your low pass filter essentially. Most of the time it's going to be left on 80 Hertz. You do get a lot more from the Bremen, but to be honest, people that would be fitting this into their vehicle may not be looking for amazing audio quality, they're just looking for a decent quality in terms of the stereo. Now if you want to change your display options, you can click on display. So you can change the dimmer setup. You can change basically the dimmer for daytime and for nighttime. You can change the scroll settings, language, color. So you can change the color through here. So we can go to yellow if you want it all yellow, red, violet, blue, loads of different colors you can choose from. So I'll probably put it to yellow so it all matches. And then also if you do want to connect up your phone for Bluetooth streaming or hands-free, you will need to go to the settings to activate it. To be honest, you should usually be able to find it straight away as soon as you go onto your Bluetooth settings. It's usually going to come up with the part number, which is SQM23. Click on that and you should be able to pair straight away. And then as you scroll through sources, it should come up with Bluetooth streaming or hands-free. Lastly, you've got underneath this flap, which you mentioned already, you've got the front USB, so you can connect your phone there, or you can connect your phone at the rear USB, which is just here. It's just got a little cap on it. So you could actually run an extension from the back to your glove box or wherever you want to be able to connect it. Or if you want it coming out the face of the head unit, you can do that as well. Now lastly, you've got the answer and decline call buttons. These are nice and pronounced, easy to get to, and easy to determine which one is which. So this is a very, very simple and easy to use unit. Now, with the other two, they can be a little bit cumbersome sometimes. Multiple buttons can do the same thing, and it's quite easy to get yourself lost in menus and stuff like that. So actually what we'll do is we'll pull out the other 2 units and we'll compare them so you can physically see the difference as well. But yeah, this is definitely the most easy to use one if you're looking for something really nice and simple. Okay, so we've got all three of the top old school style Blaupunkt head units in front of me. We've got the Bremen, we've got the Frankfurt, and we've got the Hamburg. So to quickly kind of summarize what the main differences between these three are, the Bremen was their first revision of the proper old school style head unit. So these are more aimed at like your 80s, 90s vehicles, like a Mark II Golf, Porsche 964s, that kind of thing. Whereas the Frankfurt was more aimed at slightly newer vehicles, something like a BMW E36, that works perfectly. Now this is, it's almost like a mix between. So this could work in a Mark I or Mark II Golf. This could work in a really old school, like I said earlier, like a Triumph Stag or something like that. It's each to their own. You can put it into whatever vehicle you want, but we kind of think it works more in the older style. So all three of these head units have a very similar spec internally in terms of what they actually do. So they've all got Bluetooth streaming, they've all got hands-free calls, DAB radio, FM, all of that stuff. The main difference, as I've said earlier, is the Bremen has a single subwoofer output and the back of it's slightly different laid out. It's a single subwoofer output, whereas the Frankfurt and the Hamburg have a twin subwoofer output. So the only physical difference I can really notice with these is if I were to use the Bremen, you'll find that these buttons are very clicky. All of it's very tactile, old school feeling. When you go to the new Hamburg, it's more of almost like a old school PlayStation controller. Those kind of buttons. So it's quite cool to notice that these have an actual difference in terms of their tactile feel. And one other difference that I've noticed with these three is their connectivity in terms of the physical connectivity on the front of the unit. Now, with the Bremen, if you pop this flap up, you have USB, aux, and SD inputs. With the Frankfurt, you have USB, aux, and micro SD. And then with the Hamburg, you have just USB. So if you're going to be using the aux and the SD function, whether it be full size or micro SD, then these two might be a better option. But let's be honest, who's really going to use SD cards now? It's not very common anymore, so this may be a better choice for you. Okay guys, so that was an in-depth review of the brand new Blaupunkt Hamburg and the other two Blaupunkt units for that kind of same market. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, a bit more of an in-depth one today. We've shown you the difference between the Blaupunkt Bremen, the Frankfurt and the new Hamburg, so you can see which one works better for you. So all three of these head units we're going to pop in the description for you so you can check them out yourselves, and they'll be on our website at caraudioSecurity.com. But that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.